you say that nobility, there is nobility, true nobility in service. I think it's interesting you use that word nobility. It strikes me.
Yeah.
Because the very word noble, right? Like there's this, the kings and queens of yesteryear, and it's like there's this kind of pomp and circumstance around it. But then you drop it into there's nobility, the highest status that you can achieve, if you will, in actually meeting someone where they are and serving them. I'm assuming, because you're so intentional, that you chose that phrase that way. Unpack that for us, for anybody running a business or for anybody in a professional role. Nobility and service.
Well, so a few things here. Back to the reference, like picture Downton Abbey, right?
Yes.
All the nobles are upstairs. The servers are in the basement.
Right.
And that on its face would carry with it a negative stigma. You are lesser than when you are the person serving others. And when I was coming up in my career, that was kind of the thing. Like when I was growing up, all of my friends' parents wanted my friends to be doctors or bankers or lawyers, right? And going into the service industry felt like you hadn't made it. But I think there is nobility in being called to serve. I heard this great quote from a restaurateur in New York years ago that you have more leverage when you're pushing someone up than when you're trying to pull them. Like intentionally placing yourself underneath someone, that's a choice that brings with it a strong sense of nobility because, I mean, how many people answer the call when they are called to serve? But the reason I talk about the nobility of service so much is because I don't care what you do for a living. You need to take the time to articulate for yourself why the work matters, how you can genuinely impact those around you. Because I don't care how much you like your job, sometimes work sucks. And if you don't know that you're making a real difference, it's impossible to bring your most fully realized self to the work on those difficult days. And so I would spend on a monthly basis, because I believe repetition matters. If you believe in something, you better say it enough times that you grow sick of hearing yourself say it. Otherwise, you've not said it enough for it to bleed into the culture around you. I would say to the team, hey, there is nobility in what we do. We may not be helping save people's lives, but we can help them celebrate the most important moments in their lives. We can give them the grace to forget their most difficult moments. And I would always say, like, we have an opportunity, perhaps even a responsibility, to create our own little magical world in a world that needs more magic. And if we do that, if we inspire people through our kindness, that's a pretty noble way to invest your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellence. You mentioned that just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Number one restaurant in the world. Not an easy thing to achieve, I assume. None of us can really understand all that goes into that. And when I think about that, I have to ask, when you get that distinction, number one restaurant in the world, what's the mix, if there is a mix, of values and systems? Do the values drive the systems? What's that look like to achieve that type of excellence?
Well, yeah, I think values always need to drive the systems. The systems are simply there to allow yourself a heightened ability to be more consistent in expressing and upholding your values. I mean,
so is it true that if you drive systems first and there's not a value attached to it, that you're almost kind of on a treadmill?
Well,
like the converse of that?
Either you're on a treadmill or the systems are unfocused on where they're taking you.
Right, exactly. We're just doing it to do it.
You need to identify what you're trying to be, where you're trying to go, what are the values you want to uphold on your way there, and then create systems to help you do that more effectively and consistently. I mean, excellence. So I talk about excellence in hospitality, which, by the way, are not friends. They actually don't go well together. Excellence is about being perfect. Hospitality is about recognizing that human beings are perfectly imperfect, and hospitality is making human beings feel seen.
Right.
Perfectly imperfect and perfect are not friends, but I believe our success came not in spite of that tension, but because of it. But I do not believe our excellence is the reason we became number one in the world. I think excellence is important. It's a prerequisite to all the stuff I talk about. But excellence is table stakes. Whatever you all do for a living, there's, an expectation that you're going to be excellent in pursuit of that. People are paying you for a product. It better be excellent. We became number one because we made the choice to be as unreasonable in pursuit of people as everyone else was simply in pursuit of the product they were selling. And that's where hospitality comes in.
Love that. So when did that hit you? I mean, we don't have time to unpack your entire restaurant journey, but you're general manager of the restaurant that you eventually become co-owner and then number one in the world. What was the decision or what was the series of events? What led to you going, okay, we do excellent work. This is a great restaurant.
Yeah.
But what was that? Was there a light bulb moment? Was it evolution that said, okay, the hospitality piece is what's going to take us to the next level?
Yeah. So I was always the hospitality guy. That was like that
was your thing.
That was my thing. But then I went to work there because I worked there, ran it, and then bought it, owned it, and then eventually sold it. When I started there, it was the first real fine dining restaurant I'd ever been a part of. And sometimes you stop being yourself in an effort to play the game in front of you. And I was like, fine dining, it's not about hospitality. This is about excellence. And so I almost left a piece of myself behind as I recklessly pursued all of the details that went into creating a perfect restaurant. And it worked. Honestly, we went from 2 stars in the New York Times to 3 stars to 4 stars. We got 3 Michelin stars. We got all the accolades. And then finally we ended up on the list of the 50 best in the world. And I went there real excited. And the way that list works is if you're in the room, you know you're on the list. You just don't know where on the list you fall. They start at 50, they count down to 1.
Okay.
I'm all geared up. I'm guessing where we're going to fall. They start the countdown. We came in last place.
Of the top 50.
Of the top 50. But
still a rough night for you.
Yeah, but it is a choice, I guess, to look at that as last place, but that's just for better or worse how I'm designed.
Yeah.
My dad always says adversity is a terrible thing to waste. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control how you react to those moments. And I think it's a beautiful thing because sometimes we glaze over moments of disappointment in an effort to be a cheerleader. I think you need to allow yourself to sit in moments of disappointment, take what you can from them, and then move on. And that night, in frustration, I kind of went through the stages of grief, ultimately landing on acceptance. Because here's the reality. It's absurd to say one restaurant is the best in the world.
Right.
It's too subjective.
Right.
There's too many restaurants. When you earn the top spot on that list, what it actually means is you're the restaurant having the greatest impact on the world of restaurants.
That's good.
Up until that point, all the restaurants that had been number one were run by chefs. I'm not a chef. I'm a dining room guy. And each of those chefs was unreasonable in pursuit of their product and relentless in pursuit of change. I think when you want, to make your impact, when you want to win, when you want to really rise above, you need to look inside of yourself and identify what is your superpower.
Right.
What do you have that's different from what other people have? And in that room, I was the only dining room guy. And I realized that the best way for me to make my impact was to go back to the thing that got me to that restaurant in the first place, which was hospitality. And so that night on a cocktail napkin, which I still have, I wrote, "We will be number one."
Yeah.
But a goal without a strategy is nothing more than a pipe dream.
Yes.
And that's when I wrote Unreasonable Hospitality, deciding that if they became number one by being unreasonable in pursuit of product, we would by being unreasonable in pursuit of people.